them with your pinky like this. That also comes across in this song you might recognize.
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Gear, There, and Everywhere. We are welcome with a special guest, Michael Sokil. Michael,
hey guys,
welcome, thank you.
Good to be here.
Yeah, nice.
So we've got a few questions for you, Michael, and Ryan, we're going to get right into it, waste no time on this episode. Ryan, what's the first question we're going to dig into? Oh, also, too, before we do that, Michael, just tell us who you are briefly.
Oh, sure. Yeah, my name's Mike Sokil. Formerly MJ Sokes on YouTube. I had one of the original Beatles guitar channels about 20,000 years ago. I kind of dedicate myself to getting the riffs exactly right, and I think what makes me unique is it's for every instrument: guitar, bass, drums, whatever else there may be, piano. And you can find me on YouTube at Michael Sokil. And one of the best parts about this little hobby is that there are always others out there that you meet and interact with who can do things even better than you can, which is why I'm excited to be in this group. I've admired all of your videos and all of your playing. Paul, your gear especially, which we can see right now. Sam, your slide playing. Ryan, your birds covers. And Dom, the veins in your arms when you play are just exquisite. You seem jacked every time you play. So yeah, I'm a big fan of you guys. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I did notice that about Dom too. I was like, oh, look at this guy's veins over here.
He's jacked.
Well, I'm gonna start wearing long sleeves now. Thanks, guys.
So first question, we'll dive right into it. Ryan, what do we got?
So this is basically we're just gonna go around the room, not going too crazy into like asking crazy questions about what guitar was on this thing or whatever. No controversial stuff here, I don't think. But we'll just go around the room and talk about some various things. So first question, how did you get into the Beatles? So I guess we could start with Michael and then go down the list, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, so these questions are meant to be for
everyone,
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. So I was born in '87. I am an elder millennial. So the Beatles anthology came out, I think, when I was 8. And I remember vividly, I think it was Thanksgiving 1995, watching it and just being overwhelmed at like the sights, the sounds. I'd never heard Beatles music before. I'd never really seen a band perform before like that, and just instantly became hooked. And my parents bought me a simple chord book and a really crappy 6-string acoustic guitar. And I remember learning C and D7. Those were the first 2 chords I learned, and putting them back to back got me the intro to I Want to Hold Your Hand, or at least close enough. And just hearing the song replicated by me hooked me on playing music for the rest of my life.
That was great. How about Paul? What do you got?
What was the question again?
How did you get into the Beatles?
My dad. Yeah, he got me. My parents wanted me to either play an instrument or a sport, and I hate sports like to the max power. So I definitely wanted to get into instruments and playing music. So my dad, of course, liked the Beatles, and that was it. From there, it was just all Beatle music and trying to figure it all out in every fine detail.
How about Sam?
Yeah, I've been listening to them as long as I can remember. My parents got me into them at a very young age, like, I don't know, 3 or 4. But I remember seeing Hard Day's Night was being screened outside on like a field. It was like a really cool summer night. And so that was like a good memory of like really getting to know who these guys were.
Yeah, so you guys were all parents got you into them and then showed you the various things. How about Dom?
You know, I'm lucky. You know, both of my parents are musicians, but they're jazz musicians. So that was mostly in the house, but every now and then my mom would sit down at the piano and play out of the big white, Beatles scorebook. I mean, of course, my parents are big Beatles fans, but that's kind of how I first got into them, was listening to my mom play piano. And then I started asking about it, and one thing led to the next, and, here we are.
I think I'm the odd one out here because my parents didn't care about most music. Yeah, so I didn't get into really music as a whole until like near the end of high school. Like I think I started my nice condensed saga maybe is that I was watching Back to the Future for the first time and heard Mr. Sandman, the cover of Mr. Sandman by the Four Aces that's in there, and then I made a Pandora account for the Chordettes because of that. Then got into all the 50s stuff, and then through that heard the like late 50s Dion and the Belmont stuff, and I thought, oh, these guys are great. And then I made another account, another station there that had more Dion and the Belmonts and that style of stuff. So that got me into the early 60s, and then I heard Beatles stuff finally, and then made a Beatles channel, and then that was sort of like as I had just spent so much time listening to all this 50s stuff, I saw it as like the culmination of everything that came before, where they have like these aspects of girl groups, and then also these like guitar legends from the 50s, and then the vocal harmonies. Like all this stuff is all over the place, and yeah, so I got really into them through that, and then started playing guitar through my friend who was like down the street, borrowed his guitar and like learned the Day Tripper riff, and this was like the summer after junior year of high school. So, and I was born 97, so I had a much later start to this stuff. So I've actually, what am I at? I'm at like a little less than 10 years after starting guitar right now. But yeah, that's mine. I don't know. And we have any comments on any of that stuff?
You're 26, Ryan? Really?
I will be 26 in November.
Wow,
yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, Dom's the young one here. You're 21, right?
Yeah.
22. I just turned 22. Yeah. I'm the only 2000s baby here.
No, I mean, Mike, we feel the same way because we see some other people that are like 16 that have like amazing channels.
Sorry to make you guys feel old, but
and they know 10 times more than me. I notice. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
So I think the next one was a top 5 Beatles songs.
Yeah.
Mike, you want to start it off?
Who's going first? Me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go first. So I picked my top favorite, not necessarily the best. So this is subjective. For 1 and 2, I always split between Drive My Car and Your Bird Can Sing. Drive My Car, the best rock and roll song I think ever recorded. And Your Bird Can Sing. The guitars, you just can't replicate that tone. Just brilliant tone. 3, Dear Prudence. Never gets old. That drum break at the end always gives me chills. 4 is She Said, She Said. It's kind of my adult favorite Beatles song. The drumming is still something I need to work to figure out. And then last one may be controversial, Octopus's Garden.
Wow.
That's actually
to me, it's like the last great collaborative Beatles song. It feels like everyone pitched in to help Ringo carry this to the finish line. John's engaged. George's guitar playing is brilliant, has a great bass line. And it's got George Martin's touch all over it, too. It just never gets old for me. I know it's a kid's song, but screw it. Still love it.
Getting to hear Paul and John blowing bubbles into glasses of milk, too. Like, that should be number 1 alone.
Can't beat it, yeah.
Well, you can tell they had fun on that song. For sure.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
At a really tough time in their career, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm next. I mean, it's tough for me because I kind of look at the songs differently, where I might like the song a lot, but at the same time, I don't really like it because I know it didn't really have a big impact, such as like Paperback Writer. That would have to be on my list. Is it one of my favorite songs? I mean, I'd probably skip it if it came up because I've just heard it so many times. But at the same time, its impact was just phenomenal. It's just a great song. But I would say, for me, number 1, Every Little Thing. I absolutely love that song. Thought it was just such a great song. It's so well put together. And I don't know, just have nothing but good things to say about that song. So those 2 songs right there. Third song, man, that's tough. Probably Sgt. Pepper, because again, just so influential. I mean, come on, the impact of that thing left. You know, I mean, what was it with all right, you know what? I'm not even going to get into it because we want to make this a quick episode. Let's keep moving along. Sgt. Pepper, and then I mean, I would have to say, like, even Lady Madonna. That's a great song. It's just such a happy-go-lucky, you know, just it's just bouncing and goes. It's just a fun song. And I know I'm going to kick myself in the butt for naming even some of these songs. I'm like, oh, why didn't I say this one? And then I would have to say another great song that's overlooked would probably be Run for Your Life. That's a great song.
You put Run for Your Life in your top 5?
Yeah, that's a great song.
It is a
really
good song. It's a
Yeah.
good song. Yeah.
You know, it's a very unique song, and the slide guitar in it, I just think is, well, whatever they're doing. Was it Bottleneck? I don't even know what they're doing. It's just great. I think it's just everything about it. So, all right, next. Who's up?
Wasn't one of John Lennon's favorite songs, but
Yeah, I think
it's
he
a good
said that
one.
was his least favorite song, that had come out. But
To be fair for you, he did say he wanted to re-record like every Beatles song. So
Yeah.
He was a critic, right? It's got the hardest drum beat too of any Beatles song. Those bass
really?
drum hits. That's one of the one things I can't do that Ringo could do. It's on Act Naturally, What Goes On. Doing that like swingy hi hat while doing the bass drum hits. It's just next to impossible. Dude
Yeah,
was
that-
a beast.
that stuff's crazy. I like Act Naturally that's the one I think of. I didn't realize Run for Your Life had that same type of thing.
Oh yeah, yep. I think those were the only 3. And then Old Brown Shoe has a very slowed down version of the same thing, which sounds extra cool. Hey, Sam, you have to cover that soon.
Maybe we'll do it together because I can't do the drums. Am I next?
Sam, yeah, what do you got?
So I am a big fan of Paul's granny music. Controversial as well, but yeah, When I'm 64 might be my number 1. Just very sentimental for some reason. And then I really like I'm So Tired. God, I really like Martha, My Dear. There's a Place. I don't know why that one really hits me
that's a
for
good
some
one.
reason. And
Underrated.
yeah.
In a sense, the first like introspective song, like far before Rubber Soul.
Yeah, it's one of the only ones early on that's not like a love song, really. Number 5, it's hard. There's so many that I can name. I really like The Word. I don't know why that one.
Great
like,
choice. Yep.
It's like got a really cool, like funky guitar riff, and it's like Rubber Soul, kind of like it's a folky kind of album in a way, but that one's kind of Motown. So I don't know. I like that.
Real quick, just to because you mentioned Rubber Soul as a folky type of thing. Did any of you guys grow up with the American version of Rubber Soul?
I have a pressing of it.
Like, but did anyone like that was the one that you listened to? Okay.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I know they marketed it as a folk album in the States.
Mhm.
But
I mean, it leads off with "I've Just Seen a Face," right?
yeah, right.
So interesting. Yeah, Sam, did you get through all of yours?
I did.
Okay. Yeah, those
Break
are
5,
good
Sam.
ones.
Thanks.
Mine would probably be, let's see. Well, I mean, obviously, for all of us, I imagine this list is pretty fluid. Like, it changes fairly, well, maybe not often, but I've definitely had a bunch of different ones that have been my favorite at times. So, some of those would be Rain is definitely up there, just because, like, that, I think I got really into that, like, modal type of stuff they were doing, where, I don't know, the drone note with like interesting melodies going on top of it, I really loved. And then also like, you know, Paul does some crazy stuff on the Casino for guitar on that one, which is, you know, a topic of its own episode at some point probably. And then I'm again a big fan of just Paul's melodies, so For No One is probably that has been my favorite at times. I think that might be like my favorite melody of his, and like in a sense maybe one of his best compositions. I think it like flows incredibly well, while also like being a rare occurrence of Paul having like maybe meaningful lyrics. Like I feel like it didn't really matter if he had meaningful lyrics a lot of the time, because it just needed to sound good, and that was enough for me. Like I don't care about lyrics most of the time, but I think the lyrics of that one are great. And then You Won't See Me at one point I would say was my favorite. And that's maybe a similar thing with the melodically is just a great one. And then they have to put Strawberry Fields in my top 5 because it's just, I feel like in a sense it's objectively the best Beatles song as like the culmination of the people working together to make something that's like greater than the sum of its parts, and then also at the height of like studio magic. And in a sense, I'd put like A Day in the Life similarly there. But I mean, I think I have to put She Loves You in here as well, because I remember times like on what was it, an iPod Nano, listening to that one on repeat like probably 30 times. And I mean, I think for anyone that has our level of obsession with this stuff, to be able to replicate the details so clearly or so specifically, you have to know like all the little quirks that are going on in any given song. And yeah, She Loves You, like, I think especially as that was one of the earliest Beatles songs I probably heard, hearing that sixth chord in the vocals, I think is just like magical to you when you haven't heard it before. And that's, I think, one of the things the Beatles are really good at, is giving you a lot of first musical experiences where they have like chords or melodies in such a way that you haven't heard them before. And it sort of is having these synapses firing in your brain because there's some new musical phenomenon that you haven't heard in another song that you hear for the first time in that, and now you're forever tied to it. So I think She Loves You is that sixth chord for me. So yeah, how about Dom?
Wow, that was a lot to take in, Ryan. Jeez. Yeah, it's fluid. It changes, but I would say my top two probably are I Feel Fine and You Can't Do That, because to me, they kind of, it's kind of the Beatles at their best, in my opinion, as they were touring and, being the Beatles, as, the caricatures are. But yeah, I mean, double Rickenbackers. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, You Can't Do That is like probably one of the first ones I wanted to learn, I'm sure.
Yeah,
because it's one of the so sliding.
It's one of the first ones
G7.
I learned. Yeah, it's one of the first ones I learned. Same with I Feel Fine. But yeah, those are definitely two. I always liked She Said, She Said. Again, can't go wrong with it. I love the fact that George joins in on the outro. That's different. I would definitely say Norwegian Wood is on there. Again, sitar. It's incredible. Definitely, I don't know if you would call it one song, Abbey Road medley that starts with Golden Slumbers.
Oh, that counts. Sure.
Is that as one song?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good one. What am I at, 4? But I would say probably on that list would probably be, trying to think here. You know what? Yeah, Something. I love that one. Something or Here Comes the Sun, definitely George's
Objectively
best
good
in
songs,
the Beatles.
yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Can I just say one thing too? Is I kind of miss the "I Call Your Name." That has to be in my list.
Oh yeah.
So push one of the songs out and put "I Call Your Name" in that. That's just such a great song. Double
Two Rickenbackers.
again.
Yeah. Same idea as You Can't Do
Same
That.
idea.
I'm going to very quickly introduce a question that wasn't on here because I just thought of it.
A twist.
Yeah. Especially because you just made me think of this with Something. Favorite Beatles guitar solo?
Oh.
Does anyone have anything that comes immediately to mind? I know at one point Something was that for me. I don't know if I would still call Something my favorite. But, yeah, has anyone got one they can immediately think of?
Jeez.
When you can't
Give me 4 hours.
You can't do that. We can circle back to that one.
Yeah, circle back.
All right,
Is,
favorite
Dig a Pony.
Dig a Pony?
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's my
Wow. Interesting. All right, how about favorite Beatle and why? You can go in whatever order people.
I
Whoever wants
think
to.
I think my answer has changed as I've matured. It used to be John, and I still have a soft spot. The aggressive rock and roll persona, the way he played rhythm guitar. His guitars looked the coolest to me, and he had, I think, the best voice in rock and roll, if not like top 3. As I've grown, Paul. He's the musical architect of the Beatles, the most talented. The fact that, as you can see in Get Back, he kept the band together almost solely for those last couple months when the others just wanted to go off and do other things. And he's still around. Like, I saw him last year, and he's still got it at 80. I'll be lucky to be alive at 60, So, yeah. And then I've related more to George as I've gotten older too, but I would say Paul is the current favorite.
So when you were most interested in John, or when John was your favorite, is that why you started off with the 325 and the Casino?
Sure.
Were
Yeah.
those your first two Beatles guitars?
Yes, the 320 was something my father got me at the Valley Forge Guitar Show in suburban Philadelphia for $585. And it was almost near pristine, too. Got very lucky. I've beaten the crap out of it. It's actually right here. Give it a little cameo on camera.
Huh.
But yeah, I very much wanted to be John, but I couldn't sing.
Did it come with the I can't remember what the bridge is called. The
bow
bow tie
tie
bridge? Or did
No,
you mod that?
Everything is basically modified. Bow tie bridge, the Bigsby. I took out the R-tail piece, changed the tuners, and something was done to the pickups too, but it wasn't by me. There was this guy named Jim Rhodes who had a Beatles-themed guitar store about 20 years ago. He rewired something, and the pickups have sounded amazing since. Not quite sure what that was. But yeah, I think at that age, you wanted that confidence of a John Lennon to just stride the stage and belt out songs like that. He was who I wanted to be at that age.
Yeah, and I think we all loved your 320 your John Lennon rhythm guitar video. Everyone knows that video.
Yeah.
Of
course.
I remember the what is it? I'm happy just to dance with you. I think
Oh,
that's
yeah.
in there. Yeah.
That's still incredibly fun to play if you
Yeah,
guys
that's-
haven't tried. Yeah, it's
I don't
wonderful.
have a 325, but I went and played one at a store a few weeks ago, and that's the first thing I think I played. It's a great
You
one.
have to. It's mandatory.
All right, how about Sam? What a favorite Beatle?
Mine is historically was always Paul. Just like very charming guy and just I don't know, really fun. And just his music is probably my favorite, but now it's kind of rising into George Harrison over time recently, with his spirituality, and he's influenced me a lot with that. So yeah, Paul
And
rising
you're
into
going
George.
through a bunch of going into a bunch of All Things Must Pass now as well for covers.
Yes, spoiler alert. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great stuff. How about Dom?
George. No question. I'm a very chord-oriented person, and George's use of diminished chords is very interesting, especially when you don't expect it. But one of the other things I really loved about him as a guitarist was the fact that he was never flashy. He played to serve the song.
Yeah, especially in the later years, that's very nice because that was becoming more popular to be the I mean,
Well,
I don't know, flashy guitar I guess was getting defined more in the late '60s, like with the
Well, yeah, and
rise
then
of
you know,
blues rock.
then in the '70s, of course, in the late '70s. But but yeah, that's why I loved George, and he again as a songwriter, of course, and then as a guitarist, but also as a person, he was very humble.
Are you a big
he
fan of
never-
the Gretty chord?
What did Joe Brown call it? George said he called it the naughty chord.
Oh, really?
Diminished.
I don't
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah,
That's funny. We're
but
talking about
yeah,
the
that's
what is it's a major minor 7, is that what it is? The one in how do you do it?
Till There Was You, right?
Yeah. So it's got like, and it's also in Taxman.
no, that's a
Sharp.
that is
9 chord.
a sharp 9.
Doesn't he play it using that voicing when he comes up here though? Like,
No, he does the G7 like that, but he has the
oh, okay, maybe that's what I'm.
The
that,
B
that's
flat
what
on
I'm
G7.
thinking of.
It's the
but,
same as
yeah.
the,
Not the,
Hendrix chord.
Yeah, not the sharp. Yeah, not
but yeah, that's my answer, George, for sure.
cool.
Nice.
Yeah, George is great.
I always thought the diminished chords were the naughty ones, though.
No, because they are.
Mine would be Paul. I think, just from a melodic standpoint, I can't get you can't get better than Paul's melodies, and his harmonies are great as well. I mean, like if you think of something like I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, it's a great harmony vocal on that. And yeah, I mean, I think history has as a result of like what happened to John, I think the world has viewed him as like the core driving force, and maybe like in Beatles circles, I think a lot of people have decided that Paul was more of the driving force, which is maybe a little more evident in the Get Back documentary. And that wasn't to say John couldn't have been that, and I think they were an incredible partnership. But I mean, it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if John wasn't hooked on LSD and heroin for those last half of the time, because he had so many songs coming out in like '65 that were incredible. Like I think as a writer he hit his peak with like stuff on Rubber Soul, like Girl.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I wish we got more of that, but it didn't happen. And I mean, Strawberry Fields is incredible. I think that was like the tail end of like where he was starting to go off the deep end into LSD every day and all this. So that's kind of a shame. But it wouldn't have stuck in our minds without Paul's melodies, and Paul I think is forever going to be my favorite. And speaking of Paul, what do you think?
Probably Paul would be my favorite, and then after the Beatles, it would have been George. But at the same time, I do like John, just because John spoke his mind, such as when he said that whole Beatles is more popular than Jesus. He was right. You know, the kids weren't going to church anymore, and the Beatles really were more popular. Even to this day, I mean, I haven't read the Bible. I don't really know much about Jesus, but I know all about the Beatles. So he was right. So, you know, it's truth, you know, and I think he stuck out to me because of that.
Well, moving on, I guess.
Our sympathies to Ringo.
Nobody's favorite.
No, I mean, give him credit though. I mean,
he was America's favorite in 1964.
The most underrated drummer in history, no question. Moving on, I guess. Favorite Beatles album?
All right, who wants to be in the Revolver camp?
Right here.
Only Dom and me, really interesting.
I mean, it's tough. Yeah, I would have to. I'm split between. I don't know actually. That's tough. I would have to say Beatles for Sale.
Wow.
Interesting. Wow.
I think that's their best. That's my favorite.
That's
because I mean, come on, you got I'm a Loser. You got the I Don't Want to Spoil the Party. I think those are both great songs.
What You're Doing.
Yeah, What You're
that's
Doing.
a good one.
Classic.
And I think going back to, I know I don't want to spoil it now, but your favorite solos. I don't have a favorite solo, but every song on that album almost has my favorite solo. You know, I'm a Loser is a great solo. I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, great solo. Like all those, and it goes back to what Dom was saying. They're perfect. They're to the point. They're not overly complicated, and they fit the song better than any other songs the Beatles had later on with solos.
The interesting thing with Beatles for Sale is how it's interesting how the perception of it maybe changed over time, because I think now we view it as like, oh, like that's the one where they like didn't have enough time to write new stuff. Where like the compositions are still great, and I'm glad we got all those covers. But I think a lot of people think like it's a, you know, they don't think of it as much of a stepping stone as the other stuff. But at the time, there's some interviews. I think it's an interview with Paul where they were asking him like, you guys did this previous album where you were doing all your own compositions. Why didn't you do that again? And he's like, oh, you know, like that was just like a one-off type of thing. And it's funny, like in context, looking at that now, how, you know, they were about to be doing only their compositions, but at the time that was still like, oh, you know, that was just a thing we did once. And Beatles for Sale was like, you know, a back to the norm for them almost. Beatles for Sale, definitely underrated.
So we got Dom and Ryan in Revolver. I'm in Beatles for Sale. That leaves Sam and Michael.
Sam, you go first.
Rubber Soul for me. Yep.
Same.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Rubber Soul's just like on a personal level. I from a young age, like I remember like walking in the woods, and it felt like the album cover like was wearing a turtleneck. It just all clicked in this moment. But just on a historical level, it was just kind of where they stopped doing covers and they really honed in on the studio. But not only with innovations like fuzz bass and stuff like that, it just that folk rock thing is just really influential.
Yeah, Rubber Soul might have been it's probably a close second for me. I mean, George called him Rubber Soul Volume 1 and 2 or whatever.
That would have been my second, is Rubber Soul.
Yeah.
I
Definitely.
think composition wise, Rubber Soul might be the best. But I think for the extra studio experimentation and just the diversity of songs on Revolver, the White Album has something else to say about diversity of songs, but yeah, for that reason, I'd probably put Revolver a little bit
Historically, it would have to be Revolver and Sgt. Pepper, probably the best two, technically, of the music-changing albums ever.
Yeah, Sgt. Pepper gets recognized often as like the pinnacle, but I do wonder how much of that is like a result of how they were perceived at the time, because 66 was a crazy year for them, and if there weren't all those like Beatle like burnings or whatever that were going on as a result of the cascading effects of John's like "we're more popular than Jesus" thing, I do wonder how Revolver, like, I feel like it came out like doomed for failure to a degree. I mean, as much as you can be doomed for failure as the Beatles, but like
a lot of that was the Capitol release of Revolver was just completely different.
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't thinking about that.
But I'm curious what
go
Michael.
ahead,
I was curious what Michael thinks of Rubber Soul and Revolver.
I'm just echoing what everyone has said already. I always thought Rubber Soul was more the acoustic album and Revolver was the electric album, the harder album. But I would also echo what Ryan said in that John is very engaged. He dropped some of his biggest bangers here. Nowhere Man, The Word, In My Life. And I also was disappointed when John stopped writing love songs. I think that might have been in help. But he was one of the best songwriters there was. And after, I guess, Pepper, it's all like what he sees on TV or what he sees in the newspaper. Random thoughts that come into his head. Very disappointing almost, because he was so damn good at this. But you do hear that engagement on these two albums, I think, for the last time.
For sure. For sure.
You know, and before we end this part two, I just want to say, challenge all of our viewers again. I know we all know the old 60s music, but just go and listen to anything. Go type in top number one song of, February 1st, 1966, or top song. Whatever it is, it sounds dated. Whenever there is a Beatles song in that list and you listen to it, everything's dated. When Sgt. Pepper came out, you listen to any of those songs. Now listen to any of the songs that were out during that time, that were in the top 10, top 20, top 50. All of them sound like they came out in the 50s. It sounds like Frank Sinatra crap. It does. I'm sorry, but I hate the 50s stuff. I hate 40s, I hate 30s, I hate the 1800s stuff. I don't really like that type of stuff. It's just too dated to me.
You're alienating all
Sousa
our
was
100-year-old
great,
viewers.
Seriously, no, the Beatles were the only band in the 60s, to me, the only band. Beach Boys, dated. All of them
What?
sounded dated.
What?
They were the
No.
only band that came out in the 60s that didn't sound dated. Listen to Pet Sounds. That was the worst album I've ever listened to in my life.
Oh, shots fired.
I've
Shots
got
fired.
freaking the Beach Boys Smile in the background
I
here.
was going to say, Smile
Dated.
could take Sgt. Pepper on a run for its money.
Smile is literally the greatest album ever made.
Ever
Beach Boys
not
suck.
made, actually.
Shame.
Beach Boys
Shame
suck.
on you.
Ugh, I hate them.
Oh my
Once
goodness.
once we divulge from the Beatles, we just start fighting.
No wonder
Yeah,
Paul doesn't have
clearly.
any Fender amps behind him.
No, yeah, I get them all. Yeah, some. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
Next, what's the next question?
Least favorite Beatles song.
No, it would be least favorite. Oh yeah, you're right. Gotcha. I was thinking we go back to least favorite Beatles album since we just talked about best
All right,
albums.
let me
Oh,
just
yeah.
go. Let's just do. How about album and song all in one shot?
Yeah, that's
White
fine.
Album
Yeah.
for me, horrible, absolutely horrible. The White Album.
What?
And I would say the worst song is that Savory Truffle. I've talked to you guys about that before. That
What?
is the worst song
back to
ever.
back hot
What are
takes.
these hot takes?
Get out.
My goodness.
Hot
Doesn't like
takes.
Pet Sounds, doesn't like Savory Truffle.
Ugh, no.
Unbelievable, Paul.
Gonna vote you off the island, Paul.
But I do have to say though, one of my top songs when I started learning how to play the piano was "Martha, My Dear." Like that's on White Album, isn't it? And that's one of my top favorite piano songs that they came out. "Helter Skelter," I do love that song. I think it's great.
Would you have
And
been
that's another
happier with like a
revolutionary song.
one disc White Album? Like
Yes, like Revolution 9. Come on. Come on. If you like that song, you're a serial killer. Like, that song sucks. You know, like, stuff like that. Like, come on. It's just like, I think they just wasted space.
No,
so many
yeah.
wasteful songs like Piggies. Come on.
No, that's a
yeah,
good
it's
one.
a great song. It is. I like it. If it's on, I listen to it. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like, really? Like, come on. Like, seriously, think about that song for a second. It's stupid. It really is a stupid song.
So we
It's a
know
waste of
which
space.
album Paul doesn't like.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
just a waste of space. You want to talk about a waste of a song? Let me sing about pigs in mud. Like, I know
That's
it
not-
probably has
that-
other
that's not the
meanings.
point of it, yeah.
All
don't
this
like
stuff,
people-
blah, blah, blah.
Some people might say that diversity of music in one album is its appeal. Having all the different types of music, the bizarre concepts, is what brings it to a higher level.
Especially with 68 being like a renaissance for 50s music, or beginning with like Lady Madonna and all these people like I think a lot of people at the time in the like especially the British music scene were like getting a little tired of how complicated all music had become, and like, let's go back to roots. And that's why blues rock starts to get huge in 68. Yeah, so it's the White Album is a great take on that because they managed to do that and also like have just such a diversity. Yeah, so catering to the old stuff, catering to the new stuff, and yeah, everything in between. All right, well, that was an interesting take. Who else has got a least favorite Beatles album? And
Yeah,
song?
but I just want to say one thing too, like that savory truffle. We can also relate that to John, kind of just on a drug trip, just talking about random things that he reads in the newspaper. Also with George, I mean, that song was just written about how Eric Clapton's tooth hurt. Stupid song. Let's keep moving on.
Is that your least favorite Beatles song, though, Paul?
Oh God, yeah,
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
that song's horrible.
That is a killer bass line on that one, though.
I like Bungalow Bill 10 times better.
Oh, jeez.
All right, well,
Yeah, don't
hold on.
get
What
me
do you
started on that one.
prefer, Savoy Truffle or
Pet Sounds.
or If You've Got Trouble?
If You Got Trouble, that's a great song.
That's a great one.
Yeah, that's a great song. I like
Interesting.
that song.
That's a fun one to do, yeah.
But who prefers that to Savoy Truffle? Really interesting.
Oh yeah, I rather listen to that. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
all
it's,
right. All right.
Okay. Yeah, my least favorite would probably be Yellow Submarine.
I don't know. I feel like I was omitting that. I mean, because I don't know where.
They recorded songs for that album, right?
Right.
So you don't have much there. It's like, okay, All Together Now, sure. What else is on there? Only Northern
Bulldog?
songs.
Hey
go.
Bulldog is
Hey
pretty
Bulldog's
good.
a great one. I like that one. But yeah, my least favorite, if we're not counting,
It's all too much.
that's a good one too. But if we're not counting Yellow Submarine, I would probably have to say Magical Mystery Tour.
Oh wow, interesting.
Look, it's another
Paul,
hot
you
take.
also
I
don't
get it.
like Magical
I get
Mystery
it.
Tour, right?
Some of the songs were a little rough on it, but
Yeah.
overall, I know where they were going with it. So that's why I mean, like, let's all get up and dance to a song. It's like, well, I don't know. It has a good theme though. I like it.
No,
It swings.
I'm-
so-
I mean,
not
the
saying-
production on the title track alone, I feel like, is enough for me to not put Magical Mystery Tour at the bottom.
Look, I'm not saying that it's a bad album, but if I had to line up all of them, I say, okay, I'd probably listen to Magical Mystery Tour last.
See, I like that song. I like that change of timing.
Well,
Oh,
no,
that was
the album,
revolutionary
not
for me.
Yeah, not the album, not the song, but yeah, I mean, I love that song.
Interesting.
But yeah, my answer would probably be Magical Mystery Tour if you held me at gunpoint or
And
something.
did you have a least favorite song too?
Least favorite Beatles song is Revolution 9, no question.
Yeah.
I mean,
At least you're not a serial killer, Dom. I like it.
All right. How about Mike? What do you got?
I'm going to echo Dom for least favorite album, Magical Mystery Tour. I agree. The songs just sound muddy to me. I'd yet to hear a clear remaster or remix. If you wanted better versions of Baby You're a Rich Man, All You Need Is Love, just get the soundtrack for Yellow Submarine, the song track. Least favorite song, Don't Pass Me By. I can't believe no one has mentioned Don't Pass Me By.
Yeah.
There's nothing redeeming about that song at all.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
You're right on that one. Yeah,
That's-
that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I
no,
at the
I
same-
like it. It's got a
I
good
just wanna-
fiddle solo on there.
you were in a car crash and you lost your hair.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb. But at the same time, real quick, not to just cut this in, Boys. If you think about it, that's a pretty bad song. boys, yeah, boys.
Yeah, but
It's a
the
cover.
guitar
That's
parts
it.
are cool.
I just
Yeah,
sang
it's
you
a
the whole
cover.
song.
But
I
that's
know,
yeah.
but just for them to cover that, I guess, and everything. I don't know.
Cool
They should
guitar
stay away
playing
from
in
that
that. I
song.
love
'Cause I
the
include
parts.
that to their catalog. If they played it, I include it. So I don't think
Fair.
that was a good one. All right, Sam.
Can I count the Long Tall Sally EP as my least favorite?
I'd
What?
super niche.
Really?
Oh yeah, I really don't like my least favorite Beatles songs are like some of the covers like Dizzy Miss Lizzy and Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby. I don't know why. I just maybe because I like 50s music so much and Carl Perkins that it just feels inferior to me, or like Plastic
Well, so
Soul.
that EP is Long Tall Sally, I Call Your Name. What else is on it?
Slow Down.
Matchbox and Slow Down.
Yeah,
Those
I don't
are all
know.
great songs.
Yeah.
They're good. I just if I had to pick least favorite, I just don't like some of those early covers. I like the live BBC covers, but
That's
I don't
funny.
know.
Like I would call. I mean, well, Long Tall Sally for one is the only double guitar solo we get until like 5 years later or something, 4 years later.
It's a great trivia question. I'm not even sure what the next one would be. The end?
Yeah,
I think you're
don't know.
right. I
There
think
might-
it's the
mean,
end. Yeah.
It sort of depends on how you talk about your blues.
Your
I guess.
blues.
Yeah.
Yeah, your blues has two.
Oh yeah, that's
Two
right.
different guitars?
Yeah, two different solos.
It starts with John going. If you count
Right.
that.
Oh, you're right. Good call. Good call.
Yeah.
But I feel like I would call Long Tall Sally Paul's best vocal of '64.
Yeah.
So
No
Yeah,
question.
it sounds great. I don't know.
interesting.
I don't know. If I had to
So
go.
Sam, was
So you're
that
calling
EP,
that your least favorite album?
I mean, I'm not counting Yellow Submarine. I do like some songs in Yellow Submarine.
What about your song? What's your least favorite?
Probably Matchbox.
Yeah, I'd agree kind
I
of with
agree,
that. That's
yeah.
another bad one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Ryan, what about you?
All right. So I'm very confident on my least favorite album. Song is a little trickier. Least favorite album is definitely Let It Be.
Yeah.
No,
Really?
no one's
One of
gonna
my
grill me on that one.
favorites.
I see it. No, I see it. It's depressing. Like, they don't sound happy. It's near the end of their career. The songs are iffy. hit
Also,
and miss.
the I'd rather have Let It Be Naked than Let It Be, as well. But
Agreed.
also like stuff like, what is it? Dig It? Like, what the heck is that? Why is that there? I mean, I don't even know if I would call that a Beatles song. If I call it a Beatles song, it's the worst one, because it's just nothing. It's
Why
just
don't we
like,
do it the road? That's a
That
pretty
is
bad
my
one.
girlfriend's favorite Beatles song.
wow.
We've been watching Get Back on a loop when I'm bored and need ambient TV. She loves it. I have no idea why. It still mystifies me.
Let It Be is my number 2 favorite album.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it might have also been the type of thing where that became my least favorite as a result of just not listening to it as much, and it became some kind of self-fulfilling thing. And that might have just been because at the time when I was going through everything, maybe I just didn't want to listen to the last album because I didn't want it to end. So maybe that's a little bit of it, but I still think the stripped down works for some of the songs, but like even the better songs on there, like, I mean, I think Let It Be is a little overplayed. And Get Back is great, but it's like it's simple to a point where like I feel like I wouldn't listen to Get Back on repeat. Like I wouldn't listen to it twice in a row ever, because it's like I've already listened to it 100 times in a row by listening to it once.
Well, it's a straightforward song.
Yeah.
You know.
But
What about song, Ryan? What do you
yeah,
got for
so
song?
I'm not gonna pick anything off Let It Be for my least favorite song, just because I don't listen to any of them enough to have like a really strong opinion on any of them. I would probably put Piggy's actually pretty low, but
Yes.
Piggy's might be my least favorite on the White Album.
Or like Revolution 9? Revolution
No,
9?
I feel like Revolution 9, I don't want to like I'm not going to listen to it very much, but I'll say it is, for its genre, probably one of the most interesting songs that exists. Like, because there's a lot of like just like noise. I don't even know what you call it. Like,
Music
like
Concrete, I think is
yeah,
what it's
Music
called.
Concrete, right? That's it. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in that genre. Like, if you listen to anything else in that genre, which most Beatles fans have not, it's like so much worse than Revolution 9. Like, they somehow made it actually like interesting. Like, stuff happens in the song. A lot of Music Concrete is just like nothing changes. You just get bored immediately. Like, at the very least, Revolution 9, if you're like a 12-year-old listening to that, you're terrified the whole time through. It like elicits some reaction from you. And same thing with A Day in the Life. Like that, I was terrified to listen to A Day in the Life growing up. Like I think I would stop it halfway through.
Seconded. Yep, absolutely. For both songs.
Which is just, there's very few songs that can do that to you. So I'm impressed with Revolution 9 for that, if only that. I'm trying to think what other...
Piggies.
I don't know if I want to put... I want to put like a honorable mention as least favorite to All You Need Is Love.
That's a hot take.
Yeah, I feel like that's a
Definitely.
better one to answer here, just because I don't know. I feel like that one just like doesn't move a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of melodic stuff going on in that one.
But
I
the
don't know.
orchestration.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky question.
It's more of
Also-
a slogan or a commercial than a song, I would say.
Yeah.
For love of peace.
Someone else said something that made me think like, oh yeah, I forgot about that song. I can't remember what it is now. Yeah. I don't know, if I remember it, I'll come back to it. But yeah, we'll just say Piggies. For now.
So yeah.
Also, I want to mention fan favorite seems to be A Day in the Life. I listen to that Beatles radio station thing, the app on your phone every so often. They say my birthday when it comes up. Hey, everybody. And yeah, that seems to be a fan favorite. Year after year after year, they do a poll on what's the fans' favorite Beatles song. It's always A Day in a Life.
Was that
number one?
Was it that, or was it Strawberry Fields that had Brian Wilson had a breakdown in his car?
Strawberry
Strawberry
Fields. Yeah.
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 He
But-
thought that John had achieved with that what he wanted to do with Smile, and then Smile was pointless after that.
Yeah. Which it's kind of funny because I feel like we like that was like his craft, right? And so for us, we're doing all these cover channels, and I feel like I get the same way about like, oh dang it, someone else did this cover, and I can't do it better than that without buying $20,000 worth of instruments. So yeah, but I mean that's gonna be with anything that you're passionate about, I guess, especially in a competitive space.
Next question.
All right. Favorite Beatles guitar you own?
You know, Mike.
What you got down?
Well, Mike's the guest.
Oh, I go first?
Yeah, go for it.
The Rickenbacker 12.
Yeah.
It sounds better to me than any string instrument I've ever heard. If I ever need an hour to decompress after work, I put the headphones on, plug it in, and just play random open chords or suspended chords, or like do the Birds finger picking. I've never heard a better sound through a guitar. But I love all of them. They're all my babies.
Yeah, just play an F major 7 and just that's all you need.
Bliss out. Right.
Yeah.
Valid.
Yeah, I might
Definitely valid.
I mean, as far as once again, the Gretsch guitars, yeah, they're good, but they don't have that same quality. So I might say the same thing. I might say the Rickenbacker 12 string cuz it just has a magical quality to it. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would ever say that type of thing about a Strat in the same way.
Do we all have one here? We all have a 12? I think that's
I
right,
think so,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, I got one.
Mine doesn't have 12 strings on it right now, but yeah.
Why is that?
Because I'm doing the zombie stuff where he used a 330, Rickenbacker 330, so I'm doing that. And some Holly stuff had a 360 12 with 6 strings taken off, but just that didn't. I didn't need it to be that specifically accurate, but it just happens to be. So I'm doing some of that stuff now too.
I mean, you're right though. No other instrument sounds like it. You know,
And it's beautiful, too.
It is.
It's like a work of art.
Yeah, completely.
You wonder if that would have just been like, if the Beatles didn't show up, would they have still made that thing and it would have been on like 6 songs and then no one would
Well,
have
no,
cared after that?
They did. They made one before George's, Susie Arden, and which kind of funny. They actually took that one apart and replaced all the parts on it and made it into a George Harrison model. So it's kind of, whatever. But yeah, I think they still would have made it.
But do you think 12 string would have become as culturally impactful, electric 12 string, as it was without the Beatles.
Maybe.
I feel like it would have been like, oh, this is what like electric folk people play, but they just big strumming open chords, not taking advantage of the.
I think it would have been like tambourine. Like you hear it, you like it, it's cool. It's a tambourine. It's in a song. That's kind of I kind of feel like, about the 12 string. If the Beatles never really got a hold of it, and when they got a hold of it, kind of launched in more songs to be made with it. But well, anyway, so Michael, we know you got the 36012. Dom, what's yours? What's your favorite?
So I would also have to double Mike here and say the 360. That's my favorite. But in terms of practicality, my Texan.
Nice.
Because I actually didn't buy this because of the McCartney connection. I bought it because I needed an acoustic guitar. And it's, it works really well for that stuff. I mean, anything really. But that's my favorite one I own because I love the slope-shouldered, jumbos. But yeah, that's my favorite 360 and my Texan for
What
sure.
about you, Ryan?
I think I'll put the 12 string up there as well. Yeah, I mean, I think I explained it well enough. How about you,
Michael?
Sam.
Sam. No, we skip Sam. I'll go last.
I have a really long-winded answer, but
the Guild Electric 12.
that's not mine. That was being borrowed. Yeah, that was interesting. I'll try to make it short. Les Pauls and Tellys are my favorite guitars, and I own them, but they're not necessarily like Beatle guitars of mine because it's a Cherry Sunburst and a Blackguard. So if we don't count those, I mean, I have the Casino. This is like one that I've always wanted because of Rubber Soul, so I might have to say the Blue Strat. But just as a guitar itself, my favorite to play is probably the Gretsch Tennessean.
Yeah.
My 67. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want those Beatles for sale sounds, that's definitely.
Definitely.
I love a good quacky guitar with like no output and just like really bright and scoopy. Like,
oh, dude, you need a Veritone 6 on an ES345.
Yeah. I measured the pickups on my Tennessean and they were 2.9 kilo ohms, which is if you know anything about like higher output guitars, like a Les Paul's like 8 ohms maybe kilo ohms, but like a metal guitar would be like 14, so like 2.9 is like nothing.
Yeah,
so I kind of like that.
It's very unique. Yeah, Paul, did you have one?
Probably my most favorite guitar I don't even own anymore. I sold it. It was my 2003 Fender American Strat. That was my favorite. Played the best. I absolutely loved the Strats. I don't know what neck it had. I had the C or the D. I was told different things. I don't know what neck it had. It was absolutely my favorite. But it had a little bubble on it, on the paint from the factory. I didn't like that, so I sold it, and I sold it really cheap just to get rid of it. And I've then since been looking for a Sonic Blue 60s style one. I hope I like the neck on those. But yeah, I say the Fender Strats. There's something about them that just ergonomically, they fit, they play great. You gotta love them.
Paul,
what's that?
If you could always build one.
Oh
parts
yeah,
caster,
I know.
that's what I did.
I want a Journeyman.
Yeah.
And that's what Sam has, the Journeyman. I want to get a Journeyman. But yeah, no, I was thinking about doing a parts one and all that. I know I could build one cheaper and probably hell for the same, better, if not better, blah, blah, blah. But the Fender Strats, I think, play the best. In terms of what I have here that's I really do like is my J160 I just got. The only reason why I like that guitar is because of the fact that everything else I have, I can play it and it doesn't really sound like the Beatles kind of to me. I got my 64 Tennessee and I can plug it into my AC100 and I hear it. But now with this new J160E, I finally hear it. Like I can hear it. I can play along with the song and be like, oh wow, that's it. That actually sounds like it. Like I can actually hear that tone. And now it's been really amazing me how much different that guitar is. So yes, the J160E currently, but the Fender Strat overall, I think, is the best guitar. Move on.
I have an honorable mention for the prettiest guitar to look at, oddly enough, is my Squier Bass 6. I don't know what it is, but it captures my attention every time.
It's a sexy bass. Yeah, absolutely.
They're cool. They really are.
End of part 1. Intermission.